Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. It is Thursday, the early edition. Back at it again. We're keeping on schedule, doing what we said we would do, even though we only have 7 listeners in the league, which is great. And 3 of them
Are
are
we at
us.
7?
Yeah, 3 of them are the guys that are going to be on the pod today. Welcome, fucking Jillian. Still don't know why we do that.
Hi.
Hi there, Georgia.
How are you gentlemen doing this morning?
Probably better than you.
Guys ready to get it going here or what? You
Yeah.
guys have been awful fucking nice on these things.
Nice.
That's
Like,
not true. That's not true.
This turned into Regis and fucking Kelly. I mean, what is going on over here?
Which one
You
would
just
I
want
be
us-
in that scenario, just out of curiosity? Would I be
The
Regis or
chick.
Kelly? Huh?
The chick.
I think I'd rather be Kelly than Regis, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Regis is pretty bad, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm celebrating.
Yeah, that's a tough decision to make there. So Georgia, we appreciate you not wearing the sunglasses. We know you're hungover, and it's hard for you to do, but you're a beautiful man. We love you. We can't wait for your personality to shine through here. Your educational background, all the amazing things you bring to the fantasy community, and not just these rants in the chat room that seem to happen with you quite often. So great for our rookies to actually see the G-Dub live and in action. I'm excited for your segment as well. Hopefully we can keep that kind of running throughout the year on a guest basis. And yeah, man. What are your guys' overall thoughts on the Javonte Williams? We're going to start there. On his injury, just how that all went down after the trade. Tough luck for Mike. Thoughts on the Javonte Williams injury? I didn't even see it happen, to be perfectly honest with you. I was watching that game and I didn't even know he was in trouble. So,
Well, my initial take on it was I feel
fucking
terrible.
surprise! Georgia goes first.
I feel terrible.
I let him go first. I'm being courteous.
Yeah, if there's like dead space, I'm going to fill it. So I feel terrible for the kid. Obviously, I think that I thought he was going to be a top 3 potential running back, and I think he still will be. I mean, I'm optimistic about seeing what guys can do coming back from injury, especially having Mr. Robinson, who's been kicking fucking ass. But anyways, and then as far as the trade and what happened with Penn, all I can say is tough luck, fucker.
So
Wow.
mean.
Wow, that's some hard-hitting analysis there, Georgia. So you think, Ben? What's your take, Ben? Because I want to hear your thoughts first, and then I'll go because I got a little.
Okay, I got a lot of layers to this. Okay, first of all, I own Mike Boone in BC, which normally, if I hadn't been struck by this fucking poison before, I'd be all super excited about. But I know for goddamn sure them signing Latavius Murray out the fucking practice squad means that Boone's going to get 15% snaps. They'll give 45% to Gordon, and then like 30 to Murray, and then like a fullback will get the rest. Some fucking stupid shit like that is going to happen. But I will say for Javonte Williams' value, here's where it's really bad. Okay, he's hurt, and he's going to be in one of those situations where he's getting ready for preseason-ish the beginning of the year. From how bad I've heard that it's going to be, he's going to probably play the beginning of next year. But what we care about in Dynasty is what does that look on his outlook as far as competition is concerned. So I think that means your best case scenario is they keep Melvin Gordon next year. Okay. And if they don't, then they might use some high draft capital on another running back, which could in turn be extremely competitive for Javonte Williams. And I think the outlook on Javonte Williams has always been he's about to be a 3-down workhorse back, which has never happened. And now with this injury ending season long, I don't see that happening again. I see the Broncos probably making sure that they're prepared for A, another setback, or B, not giving them that full workload, which is where his true upside was that we were hoping he would get to like the Najee Harris area.
Okay, I like it. I like where your head's at there. I kind of went the same route as you did, Ben. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I immediately, I don't care about what all I only care about is the future, right? Like you can't predict whether injuries are going to happen. We already discussed, I thought Mike made a good move to try to get Javonte. I thought the value was fair. The risk was, worth what he paid. So really, it comes down to what the Riv got for compensation, correct? Like you have, you know, you got basically a lottery pick. You got another first, which will inevitably probably be a late first, which is, you know, hit or miss most of the time. And then you got a second, late second, right? Based off the fact that Mike's probably going to finish in the year at the top of the league, somewhere in the top 8 owners. So what I did was I instantly thought, okay, how is Mike looking towards next year, right? So he gave up capital. He no longer has access to that player, so he takes an immediate hit this year. If you assume that that first is going to be a lottery pick, we're talking a top 10 player, right? So if you look at this year in the draft, right, and the top 10 players selected, and you look and see who has actually impacted their team where you expect Javonte to return next year. Let's say he returns week 8, right? We're 4 weeks in this year. Where name the players that have impacted their team without looking right now in the first 4 weeks of the season, and who you expect to impact their teams in the first 8 that were top 10 picks. Just off the top of your head, name a couple.
Okay, Brees Hall.
Yep.
Olave.
Yep. He was 11th. But
he
I
was
threw
11th?
him in there. Yeah, so I threw him in there because we're going to remove Wandale Robinson, who was kind of
Drake, Garrett Wilson. You took Williams knowing he wasn't going to play, so that's why it should be 11. Or somebody did, whoever did.
Right.
And then
Walker City took him.
Yep.
Walker looks meh. And then obviously we've talked about Cook and Spiller. They're both top 10, right?
Yep.
I'm not looking at the list.
Yes.
No. That's
Spiller's
that's
10.
kind of that's the exercise I wanted, right? Right off the top of your head, like, okay, so maybe. Hold on.
Did Sky Moore go top 10? I can't remember.
He sure did.
I got it right in front of
Yeah.
me. Moore's. It was.
Hold on, Georgia. Hold on, please. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. This is my. All I wanted was Ben to say it off the top of his head. Okay, so this is this year's draft. Hall, check mark. Definitely impacted his team. Kenneth Walker, no. Jamison Williams took him in the top 10, but knowing he was going to be looking like he's not going to come back till week 6, so that's a no. Drake London, yes. Traylon Burks, no. James Cook, no. Wandale Robinson, no. Garrett Wilson, yes. Sky Moore, no. Isaiah Spiller, no. Not even active. Chris Olave, yes. Christian Watson, no. Pickens, yes. Rashad White. Okay, so I mean, we're looking at less than a 50% hit rate on the lottery picks for this year, right? Like, so
yeah, Wandale Robinson, for the record, just so everyone is clear, was like pick 23.
Right. So
like,
I mean,
because he lost his pick.
So you put Olave and Watson and or Moore, Pickens. I mean, like, so you throw 2 of those guys in there because of the Jameson.
Yeah.
Thing, you're still looking at a 50% hit rate, right? Like, of guys that impact their team after being rookies in the first 8 games. You know, when Javonte Williams comes back next year, he's going to impact your team. So to me, at least looking at this year, I think that value is still fine. I mean, unless you hit on pick number 1
He's a sure
overall.
thing.
Yeah. And he's a sure thing, absolutely. So
he's not Cook, Walker, and fucking Spiller,
right?
Where we have no sample size, right. And that could change. If we don't need to do this, but if you went back to last year, it would probably be a better way.
That was the next part of this. That was the next part of this.
There you go.
A little bit better. Najee, yes. Etienne, last year, no. Javonte, yes. Michael Carter, no. Trey Sermon, no. Chase, yes.
But for this year.
Wait,
We're talking about the prospectus for the next year. So I would say if we could look at this and see so the exercise, as I understand it, is the pick, what's the value of the pick 2 years later, right?
No. So, my thought process was these guys in the first 8 weeks, did they impact their team when they drafted them? Because that's what you have to look at it. Right, yeah. I mean, you can look at it long term, but that's not what I did, right? So you have a better hit rate on this list than you did in this year's. But we're only 4 weeks in, so to be fair, there's a couple guys that could, make progressions, right? But
is Terrence Marshall on the back of a milk carton right now, Georgia?
I don't know, but all I know, I like Shy Smith getting those snaps though.
Does anyone under 35 get that reference? Back of a milk carton? Probably not.
Probably not. I just heard that in another podcast.
I guess you guys figured I was over that age.
Do you guys know that they canceled that program finally? They don't do it anymore. The putting missing people on the back of a milk carton?
Has
It's
that
just
been going
it's
on?
funny that you mentioned that, because I just heard that in the news that they canceled that program finally because nobody.
What the fuck? That's been happening this whole time?
Yeah, they still do it. They
Sorry, I haven't
finally,
lived in the
they
States in
finally
20
realized
years.
that
I thought it
nobody
was-
fucking ever is discovered from that program, so they stopped.
There's
doing it.
hasn't been that hasn't been a thing in fucking decades.
Well, they finally
Right?
canceled the program in the news.
By the way, hey,
There's a
you-
fucking article.
And did you know how they
Officially.
announced? You know how they announced it? They put it on the back of a milk carton.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and nobody saw it.
So in short, I'll wrap this up. In my opinion, yes, it's devastating for Mike. I mean, he was trying to do this to make a move this year to win in a super pot year. I think that this dire notion that now Javante's lost all his value and it's going to be it's wrong. I just don't see it. I think Mike made a good move. Would you rather have Javante Williams next year or Alvin Kamara?
With assuming that Kamara's got to be franchise tagged.
Franchise tag, probably suspended.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well,
If
well, I
contract's
would-
considered.
Yeah.
It would take 3 Kamaras for me to want
Okay.
Kamara over Williams.
Right. So
You couldn't afford it. You don't have enough cap.
Oh, that's I'm making the point there.
If those are the two, and a suspension looming, which Ben thinks is going to be 4, I would say more like Javante Williams 8 games
4
missed.
games.
Yeah, and well,
What?
his permanent suspension because he's getting old is coming too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to debate that, but all I'm saying is the hit rate of a lottery pick in impacting your team in the first 8 weeks of the season, you have a sure thing, and Javante is going to come back probably healthy. He's a big, young, strong lad, doesn't have a lot of miles on his mattress, never had a serious injury before. Like, I think you're okay there. Like, would you rather have Javante Williams or a top 8
He
pick?
still won the trade. If this trade happened with Javante Williams in his current injury, I would have said it's much closer to fair than when it happened.
Well, that's an interesting point, Ben.
Just
because
saying.
would
it's
you
a
trade
fair
a lottery
trade
pick
now.
for Javante Williams right now?
It wasn't a fair
I
trade
wouldn't.
when it was healthy.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fair trade when he was healthy.
Yeah.
Period.
The dynamic changes.
Well, listen, you guys are both really tight and rarely make those kind of big deals. In trying to sell, Gibson last year and Mixon the year or two before, it's hard to get 3 or 4 first round values out. I mean, when you're talking a top lottery pick, that to me is like 2 firsts because you could always trade it back. And I think that, you're
2
talking
or
about
3.
3.
Yeah.
I
think
couldn't
that
get 2
that's-
first round
there's-
picks for Aaron Jones on a $15 contract.
Exactly.
Like the league's
what-
weird with draft
A
capital. but I'm
$15
just saying-
contract?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I remember I was trying to make a deal with you at one point, but I just never have enough first round picks to make those deals.
I didn't end up rebuilding because I couldn't get value for my assets. So that just kept going.
Well, you seem to be doing just fine now.
Yeah.
Hey.
We might have you in a segment later.
Might be on one of those pretenders lists. Let's see.
So let's move on into the next subject. It was interesting watching that Baltimore Bills game. I think there's some playoff implications there. 2 pretty good teams. I think the weather had something to do with it a little bit personally. I don't know. I think that weather played a little bit more in the favor of Baltimore style. It was nice to see Dobbins out there again. Like he has I think his stock's rising a little bit. But the interesting thing that happened was Harbaugh deciding to go for it in the 4th quarter, leading to a turnover, and then the Bills coming back and kicking a field goal to win it. What was your initial take, Georgia, on that decision by Harbaugh using analytics to go for it there?
Oh, Jesus. This is why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
Well,
Don't even
I
answer
actually
this question.
Can
we talk about all the fourth downs that were successful, Corey?
Hold
Or are we
on.
just
I
gonna
mean,
use
you
one
can
sample
take this
size?
anywhere you want to go. That's the beauty of being an analyst. You can decide. I'm just teeing you up for you to let out one of your awesome rants, Ben. Just relax.
Yeah,
Take a
you're not
30-second
getting it.
breather and let Georgia go first, and then
Go
we'll
study
from
some math.
Okay, so I didn't see that live. I just saw the highlights, and I'm a very go for it. Go for the win, go for the jugular, mentality. So, and I remember the play, and if you saw it, he had it wasn't Dobbins, I think, but another running back that was wide open. They just left him open, and there was 2 open opportunity for them to make the play, and what's his face was running around and then ended up dumping the ball out of play. So I mean, I'm for it. I mean, you got to make a play, but you get all the way to that point and you have a chance to win the game, and and you're that close to the end zone. I say you go for it every fucking time.
I agree. Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, you go for it every time, especially if you're going against Josh fucking Allen on the other side. Period.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't even be in play. You should just always go for it. But if you want to say something else should influence it, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or Tom Brady on the other side of the ball tells you to fucking put the game away or shut up.
So I'm in agreement with you. I can't believe any analysis would question. I'm fucking so sick of the talking heads on television and creating these arguments that are just silly. Here's the scenario: if you don't score a touchdown there and you turn the ball over on downs, he doesn't. You get the ball at the 2-yard line. What is the likelihood that they're going to take it from the 2-yard line with a minute and a half left or 2 minutes left with all their timeouts, get into field goal range and kick the field goal to beat you, right? Like that's one outcome. He turns the ball over, which is that's the dagger kill, right? Because now you have all your timeouts and the 2 minutes and you're getting the ball, in good position, right? So that was, to me, what turned that tide against the decision. But 10 times out of 10, you take the opportunity to score the touchdown, go up, because then you're putting the ball back in Josh Allen's hands without the opportunity to beat you with a field goal, which he's going to do probably 70-80% of the time if you just kick a field goal. They're going to tie it either way, right? So you're thinking you're walking out of there with a tie if you just turn the ball over on downs at the very least. Plus, you have to take into consideration the weather, right? Like the weather was not good, so you don't think Allen's going to be throwing the ball from the 2-yard line and whipping it down the field in a minute and a half. So I don't know. I think it's stupid. I think analytics in general aren't really the conversation. It's just common fucking sense in that situation. Like, I mean, it's not
every single thing outside of analytics that you would want to exist to convince your thick ass skull to go for it on 4th down existed on that play. So the fact that anyone, because it is unsuccessful, has something to say about it, they can completely go fuck themselves. Like, just stop it. I get it in the second quarter. If you didn't like it and the math says go and it turned in a turnover, fine. That's your prerogative to deny math. People deny, flat earthers are out there. Science deniers are out there. Y'all have fun. But when you want to take that example and fucking pick it apart, or you're just doing it, you might as well just be fucking Kardashians up there fucking influencing nothing. You're fucking nonsensically talking about something that you can't even believe in.
Hey, Georgia, how do you feel about the Kardashians? Aren't they in your neighborhood? Like, isn't that where kind of your neck of the woods?
I wouldn't say they're in my neighborhood. Oh. They're in they're
Calabasas, right? Isn't
they're 20 yeah, that's about 15-20 minutes down the road. But the final thing I would say is just you play to win, you don't play not to lose. I mean, you gotta that's what it's all about.
I mean, if you're going against Pittsburgh there and you got Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, you maybe have a different decision, and I think that has to be considered.
Do you? I mean, you still put him on the 2.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's even a better point.
I want Mitch Trubisky on the 2 all day,
good luck.
Baby.
Good luck.
Just give me 7 points. Yeah. He'll give us the 7 points.
Exactly.
He might Garoppolo out of bounds or something. Like it's who knows in that situation. You're right. Like, I mean, that's the point right there. Worst case scenario, if Lamar Jackson, who this loss is really on in some degree, you can't make that turnover there. And so if you put them on the 2. You still have probably an 80% success rate. I'd have to see the numbers. I don't know what it is, but
I think they just collapsed in the second half in general. I mean, they were whipping the dog shit out of them, and then all of a sudden it was just they kind of disappeared. The weather got to them. Balls are slipping around. They're making bad, and it's happening on their side, not happening on the other side. So you got to go. They both should be well prepared in bad weather, right? Both those franchises.
The last thing that I wanted to talk about, kind of a nice transition here, is just this whole notion that we have good and bad teams and we know for sure who they are quite right now already after 4 weeks. I think that's absolutely ludicrous. And I think Anybody that's saying, "Oh, this team is a Super Bowl contender," or this one's not playoff bound, like there's a few on both sides of that you can make some pretty good guess, but there's still a lot of teams out there that we don't know anything about. And I think a big part of that is this 18-week season and the lack of preseason play in the preseason games. These first 4 games to me are the preseason, and I think teams are completely fine with going 10-7 and making the playoffs. They could give 2 fucks about going 14-3, right? Like they know that the end of the year is where you need to be healthy, where you need to be at your best. And so I think when you have 2 road games and 2 home games in your first 4, you're fine being 2-2 and just figuring some things out and staying healthy. But what are you guys' thoughts on that as far as overreacting to the first 4 weeks of who's good and who's not?
I mean, I'll clearly overreact that the Vikings are not a good football team, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's expectation and then there's what you see. And that's just, there's teams that are probably overperforming their record, just like we're going to analyze probably in our own 32 team league. But, 0-4 is 0-4. And, if you're 1-3, it doesn't mean you're completely out. I think in both sides of the coin, I think a lot of teams also, I noticed, just because it's week 5, that starting the season with putting players who are going to be out week 1 and week 2 on the NFI, which brings them back week 4, is kind of interesting because it happened a lot. And a lot of teams who just said, you know what, rather than this guy maybe coming back a week 2 with a hurt hammy, I'm putting him out 4 weeks. And so on both sides of the ball, and this will even go to our conversation that we had offline about San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco's getting their best safety and their best cornerback back off of the NFI, right? And their defense already looks ridiculously good. I don't even know where those 2 guys are going to play. But my point is, there's a lot of this stuff that's coming into play. So, I would say the first 4 weeks, if anything, based off of some of this stuff, is probably as less relevant as it has been historically, especially with the extra game, like you said. I like to see the meat of the buys go by before I really start talking about it. Because if you're a team who has a week 6 bye and week 7, you're 2-5, you're probably done,
Right.
But it doesn't mean you can't make a run. I mean, there's we can't take all the statistical information because now there's another game, right? And more playoff spots and all this shit. So we can't take the normal, teams 1-3 statistically only, and which they show this shit.
Right.
They show this shit on national TV. Teams 1-3 statistically only have a 30% chance of making the playoffs. It's like, dude, it's not even the same fucking schedule, sport. There's more games. What are you talking about? We let more teams in. You can't even talk about this anymore. But anyways,
so let me rapid fire because this we'll change up the agenda a little bit and we'll go right into the BC pretenders and contenders segment. Let me rapid fire both of you to say yay or nay, pretender or contender in the actual NFL. Ben, 49ers.
Pretender. But their defense is good enough to take them to the playoffs.
I'll say contender. Georgia, 49ers.
Pretender.
Okay. Ben, the Vikings.
Pretender.
Georgia, Vikings.
I'm going to say contender because I'm pulling for you, Benny.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to say contender as well. The Bengals, Ben. 2-2, I believe.
They got to be a contender.
Georgia.
Yeah, I'm going to say contender. They got you got youth on your side. You can get better as the season goes along.
I'll say
Their
pretender because I think
either.
the expectations are they're a Super Bowl caliber team, and I say there's no way they get out of the first round if they make the playoffs.
Their O-line is a problem.
Yeah. Ben, the Eagles.
Fucking contender, son. Ship it.
Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, 100%.
Georgia. Eagles.
Pretender because suck it, Argo. They suck.
That's the only reason you can say that, literally. Or if you've ever been around any Philadelphia Eagles fan in your life, then you would just say
Eagles.
Yeah, man, their fan base is just the nut worst.
Yeah,
I will say
no.
like the Bengals, I believe they're a pretender, but a strong playoff team that will win a game, and then we'll see what happens when they get into the heat of it. So I don't think they're a Super Bowl caliber team this year, but we'll see. Miami, Ben, pretender or contender?
Contender.
Georgia, pretender or contender?
Oh God, they with Tua situation. I don't know. They haven't got a quarterback, do they? I think I got to say pretender until that situation gets so.
I'm assuming
Gets fixed.
Tua misses a week. If he's
Another week.
like, if they make a fucking deal of it, and if outside circumstances intervene and he can't play for 8 weeks for some weird random reason because they're pissed off about them fucking around with the concussion protocol, that's completely different. Talent wise, top to bottom, their defense is fucking nuts, and their offense is like unguardable with those two fast wide receivers. I mean, you're gonna see it with Teddy B. He's gonna look like fucking touchdown Jesus, purple Jesus back in the day.
So Ben thinks they're a contender. I'm going to say playoff team, but pretender as far as having a legit shot. So there you are.
By the way,
three more rapid fire. Georgia, the Jets.
Yeah. No, they're a pretender. I don't even have to look at them. They're a pretender.
Ben,
why are they on this list?
Yeah, what are
Why
we
are they on
talking
this
about?
list?
You got to pick some teams that are not that haven't. That the records are. They're what? They're 2-2.
This is like throwing Wayne into the conversation.
Man, I think the Niners have a better chance of making the playoffs. That's all you need to know about my opinion.
Okay, all right. So that's interesting. Okay, how about the Cleveland Browns?
Same.
They're too hurt, man. They're too hurt. I mean, they're winning. Their scenario of getting Deshaun Watson back for a run is good, but their O-line's super hurt. They can't keep anyone on their defense on the field. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, pretender. I think there was this very close scenario, maybe starting like a week ago, that you could have said, hey, they're winning games, and if Deshaun Watson come back and he's elite, it could be interesting, but I just don't think it's there.
Okay, two more. Rams, Georgia.
I gotta say pretenders. I think they just look like shit, and they got the Super Bowl hangover. I just don't. They're not coming back.
Ben, pretender or contender?
They'll make the playoffs, I believe that. So that puts them in a contender list, because even last year we didn't think they were that good, and then they won the Super Bowl. So I'll say contender, but I am nervous about that defense, and I'm nervous about everyone outside of Cooper Kupp for Matthew Stafford. They got to figure that out.
All right, and then last one, Green Bay Packers.
Contender.
Georgia?
Contender.
I'm going to say contender as well, unfortunately. I think that
by default they're going to mop up
figure
our
it out.
division.
They're going to figure it out by the end of the season and be, in the NFC Championship game.
Their defense has already figured it out, man. They're tops in fucking PFF. Their fucking line is a goddamn problem. Their secondary is good. Like, if their defense is as good as they are, and Aaron Rodgers starts clicking with those wide receivers, they could win a Super Bowl.
I'll tell you what.
Romeo Dobbs, baby.
Over the years, who can run the fucking football late? Who can play the defensive game? Who has a quarterback that can execute on tough third down and fives when you need one, right? Like, and I mean, they check all three of those boxes. I think they're only going to get stronger as it gets cold, and if they have a home field advantage in Lambeau, look out. Okay, that was an interesting segment. I like that. I don't just rapid fire shit. Let's keep on going. So we're gonna do pretenders and contenders and actual blue chip now. So this segment is, after 4 weeks, who do we think is actually on the path to playoffs and or championship level, or who is kind of got a good record and is a dog shit team in all reality. So Ben, you get to name one of each, a pretender and a contender, or as many as you want. We'll keep this one open for a while.
Well, I don't want to take too much away, but what I'll do is I'll do I'm going to do the pretender first, so you can go through my thought process and how this all works, right? When you're looking at I'm going
to pull up the standings so everybody can see
pull up
that.
the standings. That'll help everyone here.
also help the analysts that are probably still trying to figure out who they want to pick.
So we're in a 32 team IDP Dynasty League with 45 person rosters. The hardest thing to possibly do in this league is have depth. Hardest thing to do in this league is have consistency. And it's almost impossible to have depth and consistency. Okay. And the best way to analyze how people are doing with that is probably the possible points section. Okay. Possible points will tell you a few things. Partially in other leagues, it kind of tells you the manager's not playing the right player. But in this, you almost have to play everyone who you know starts. So if you have a big discrepancy between your possible points and your points for, that kind of means you have a lot of players you're not playing that are scoring points, which that's not necessarily a bad decision. It just means you have depth. And when we get to bye weeks, there's not a waiver wire to get inserts. There's not anything. So I weight in this league much heavier the players who have the possible points versus the players on the points for end, right? So with that in mind, there are 3 players who are under 900 in the possible points section, okay? And these 2 I didn't choose, but they are they're in the dicey section, and that's Morton, Sin City, who are both under 900 points possible, okay? But I ended up giving it to the Michigan Wolverines, who are also 3-1. So all 3 of these teams are 3-1, and they're all under 900 points possible. But the Michigan Wolverines, now, albeit they are in a shit trash division, which can get them wins, but you still need points in this league, right, Georgia? We need points to make the playoffs.
So let me summarize what you're saying here, just so I understand it. You're saying that this is your pretender pick, and that's based off the fact that although their record is 3-1, the Michigan Wolverines or some of these other teams you've mentioned, they've only got 800 possible points, and they're being very efficient, or they're getting lucky matchups to get them the 3-1 record. So only 779 points for, 807 points possible, highly efficient. But if you look at the total number of points scored compared to the rest of the league that are in the thousands, some of them, right? I
think here's the issue. If you're this efficient with picking a starting lineup, it means you have no points on your bench, which means you can't sustain buys. So when you get into having buys and you're missing 6 guys, guess what? You're missing 6. You're getting probably 6 zeros. Like if it's that close. So that's a problem when you start playing teams and you can't field guys because you can't just go on the waiver wire and pick up a linebacker who's going to get you 6 points. If he's not sitting on your roster right now, you're probably shit out of luck unless you make a trade. So that's why I think in this league it's so important, because now you're doing great. But what's going to happen when you start getting a lot of buys next to your team names? Can you sustain them? Is your depth good enough? And I think what you'll see is, like, not surprisingly, like these top teams have highest points for, and they even have higher points possible. And those are where the lethal teams lay.
Got it. So Michigan is your pick, or are there a couple other teams? Just real quick, can you remind us where you thought?
Mort and
Sin City,
Mort
right?
and Sin City. They both kind of are pretty low, but like you can see their discrepancy is about 100 points on each. So they got some stuff on their bench. Maybe that's a decision on not picking the right guy, whatever it is. That makes it feel a little more sustainable, possibly through bye weeks. And that's what the tiebreaker to me was.
Got it. And then Sin City, kind of the same tone here, about 100 points discrepancy, but still possible points, which also shows you when you get into bye weeks and other injuries that you just don't have a lot of extra depth right now to
injuries can happen and change everything, but like right now it's like, how good do you feel about your depth when those bye weeks start coming out? And so my contender, Corey, on the same kind of line of thought, is going to go to the 1-3 one-man Wolfpack. okay? Because he has more points against than he has points for, which already indicates he's been pretty unlucky in matchup base. But he's also over 900 in possible points, which tells me he's going to probably be able to set better lineups or has the depth to actually overtake some of these teams in buy that might not be so prepared. So I would look at, of a 1-3 team that can definitely get in the mix and make the playoffs, I think he's got to be the top for me.
Nice. I like the analysis, Ben. Great job.
Thank you.
Jillian, do you have any another take on this, a different perspective? Who's your
Well,
pretender and who's your contender?
okay. Well, I'm going to start with the contender, and I'm going to looking at the raw, some of these choices, and there's a lot of teams with good records that I don't think deserve. I got to say, Moose he's a contender. I mean, he's got good running back, depth. He's AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, Christian Kirk. He's got a really good team, and I'm totally not picking him because I'm trying to jinx him.
Well, just real quick on
that would
Moose
be
too.
wrong.
Real quick on Moose. A highly efficient owner. I mean, he's obviously making right calls. He's got a 40-point swing, and he's got some of the highest point possible. So that's tough to do. It also says that he's got solidified starters and doesn't have to make maybe tough decisions all the time. So
It'd be terrible if AJ Brown rolled an ankle and something got derailed for him.
Well, 4-0 head start.
Well, and according to my logic,
that would be too bad.
His depth is questionable at that point. If possible points are any indication, either that or he's just like absolutely always picking the right guy,
right,
which can happen as well.
Which he does. He does consistently in other leagues too. He's
I'm giving him the reverse jinx. I think he's going to win it all.
Yeah,
all right.
Whoever I think is going to win never does.
So
the pretender.
Who's your actual pick, Georgia?
Well, let me go down to pretenders. If you want my real pick for who the contender is, it's me for obvious reasons. I mean, you look at the points I put up. I had one bad week. The last 3 weeks, I'm dominating. Things are just kind of right back.
Week, Georgia? Could you remind me?
It was against you. It was against you. It was. I tried to throw a game so that you would invite me on the pod, and it took a month for you to extend the invitation. So that shit's over with. I'm going to call my pretender Harley. For one reason, he's 4-0 in my division, and I plan to overtake him shortly. But just looking through his roster, we have this David Montgomery situation, which, as you've pointed out, he's got a serious, Herbert coming after his time. Akers is a mess. He's got Kareem Hunt, who's good, but I really think it's kind of a Kareem Hunt by himself thing. And if he goes down, I don't think he's going to have any running backs. He's sitting on ODB, but he's not going to be coming back. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think that he doesn't have a tight end. I think that he's not nearly as good as his record would suggest.
Him and I both have a pretty low points against, which means we haven't had I should have lost last week against most competition, how bad my team was, and I got a win. So sometimes you need to get lucky like that, but it's all about points for and the points against matter, because obviously if you walk into a team scoring 250 when you score 220, that's a devastating loss, right? So
isn't there a way to look at your all if you're playing everybody wins and losses?
They have that in the 16 team leagues, but I never see that here.
It would be interesting to see that for this analysis, right? Like, okay, these are the 4-0 teams, or these are the 1-3 teams, and then seeing who conversely would have a stronger record, if they're playing everybody every week. Because that's been one of the debates in the chats. Like, why aren't we just doing that and aggregating the data and seeing who has actually the best team? I'm not a fan of it. I think it takes away a lot of the fun of fantasy football, and it's just
there's no head-to-head sweat. It's fucking nonsense.
I mean, then you don't have to make positional change, like per week changes based off your record and having to win. I think it decreases the amount of activity in the league personally as well. Like,
I'd put
Anyway.
another $25 in a side pot to do that, but like,
Yeah, that'd be
as far
fun.
as the
Yeah, that'd be
focus
fun.
of the league, it just doesn't make sense.
That'd be fun. So again, the pretender was who for you, Georgia? I'm already
Harley,
Harley. Okay, and the contender was yourself with
me.
an asterisk on Moose, and then Ben, you had again recap it for me.
Michigan as the pretender,
Yep.
and I had One Man Wolfpack as a contender.
Yeah, I was just looking. Honest assessment of your team, Ben. Are we? I mean, obviously, you have a pretty tough division. You got five teams that have a 3-1 or better record. You have Georgia, Mandy, who's going to be making some deals in the near future, and Harley, right? Like, do you feel like you're a playoff team at this point?
I'm probably the Minnesota Vikings of this division.
Enough said. Moving on. Next segment, boys, is your fantasy MVP of the season thus far. Who is the kind of the surprise guy based off of either contract or draft position that is in the league overall the fantasy MVP? Give me a couple names to start, Ben.
A couple on offense.
Yeah, I mean, who's your guy, and then who's a couple guys that you thought of as well?
I think Saquon Barkley's got to be the MVP. I mean, at this point, he was second to third round in redraft. I think you could have probably got him really cheap from some owners who are all over Dynasty. I just don't think people were high on his outlook, and I mean, he's carrying the Giants. He's getting massive workload. He's getting it all. Everything. He's potentially the running back one this year, where like running backs have been pretty bad, like at the top end. So I'll give the one overall MVP on offense to Saquon.
Nice. I like the name. Did you have anybody else that you were considering, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I hate to say this, but Jamal Williams is like, even with Swift in playing, he's scoring a lot of points, and now he's like, with Swift hurt, looks like a beast. So he, of all these other guys we talked about, Pollard and AJ Dillon's probably close to his expectation. I think Jamal Williams has exceeded any expectation as far as how much workload he gets with Swift and what he's getting without him.
Nice. Georgia, what about you on offense? And we have a defensive pick as well, just to be clear. Georgia, who's your fantasy MVP after 4 weeks on the offensive end?
Well, I'm going to go a little bit of a different position. And I'm going to say the Lions quarterback at $6 probably was given away for free over the summer at some point. Just a cheap contract, and the top 7 or 8 producer, and is looks like 10%, 10 to 20% what the other guys are going for, and I think it's a bit of a surprise. So I definitely like them, and I'll just say the other guy that kills me to say this because I made a bad trade was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know where the fuck this production is coming from, and I gave him away for very little, and pretty upset about it.
Yeah, you have to be pretty happy as a CEH owner, even though you're candy and you're probably not wanting those points right now. If you look at first year, obviously a lot of people took CEH over Jonathan Taylor. That worked first couple seasons. In year 3 now, right? Like Taylor's been off to another slow start. He's hurt. Clyde has just been so efficient, just so fucking efficient. He's kind of what you expected to be in that Kansas City offense, right? Like he's getting high value touches. He's not being overutilized. He's scoring touchdowns. He's been explosive. I don't know. I watch him because I have him in a couple of redraft leagues, which I was excited to get him in, and more excited about his production. he looks good. And the most promising thing about CEH, I think, after last week is looks like they're almost ready to move on from McKinnon and give Pacheco and him the work moving forward. So never had any injury concerns really too much, right? Like he's solid. They're scoring touchdowns. They're using him in the red zone. He's getting the ball late when they're trying to close out games. He's broken off some big plays and highly efficient as a pass catcher. So CEH, I think, would have been probably up there for my pick as well, Georgia. So I think that's a great selection. Ben, what about on defense? This is right up your alley as a defensive savant.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go. Because I'm the defensive savant. I'm gonna give you one at each position that we play. Okay. So at D tackle, I'm gonna say Fletcher Cox coming back to his old prime form is pretty goddamn impressive. I traded him from, got him from Argo for Hargraves, who I thought was gonna be the better one. But like Fletcher Cox looks really good. That whole D line's got a lot of value, and he was left for dead for everyone. At D end, another guy left for dead, and I mean, just blowing my mind has got to be Jerry Hughes. Like, holy fucking hell. We talked about him last pod. It's just like Jerry Hughes coming back to being 4th overall in fucking points scored. And then not only that, just he looks like he's a problem and everything on that defense, On linebacker, I'm going to give him my boy Frankie Louvu. Frankie Louvu, not even drafted anywhere, not even in our 16 team leagues. I don't think he was on any roster. I'm pretty sure because I picked him up off seasons, and I think Lazy Bears has him. But man, like Frankie Louvu, just fucking 100% snaps, green dot, taking all the action over there in Carolina. And cornerback, this is like a guy I didn't successfully get anywhere because maybe the owners just heard about him as much as I did. But Ladarius Sneed is the equivalent to like that Derwin James year where he scored so many more than ever. Like he's scored 75 fucking points so far. And the next guy's 49 at a cornerback position. Okay. That's wild. And not only is that crazy, he's number 2 overall in defensive scoring. But I knew from everyone that the smart guys, the sharp guys were like, the number 1 cornerback should be Sneed. He's always in the box. He's up on the line. He presses. He's a shirtacular. They blitz him, etc. But that's pretty balls out, man. Number 2 overall through 4 weeks at a cornerback. Got to be happy to get that one. And safety, it's got to be Hufanga to me. Hufanga was nobody, right? Like, I mean, Hufanga was, I think at one point I owned like 3 different safeties from San Francisco, and Ramon had the other 2, and none of us had Hufanga. Him coming to this elite, he's 6th overall right now in safety fantasy points, and he looks super good. He's getting like, those ridiculous comparisons to Troy Polamalu just because he has the hair or whatever. But yeah, he looks like he's here to be a household name pretty soon. So those are my guys.
Dude, that was fucking absolutely awesome. Better than I could ever expected. But I'm learning to.
I need to start disappointing you, Corey.
No,
I'm gonna work on disappointing you.
Just really kind of turning me on, to be honest with you. Just how you handle these segments. A true professional, and I'm just lucky to be in your presence most of the time. So now,
wait, Georgia, say something bad about me.
Georgia, feel free to follow that up, buddy.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be quite so professional. And I'm going to go with number 1. Max Crosby is the leading defensive point scorer in the game right now, on a $12 contract or whatever. But he's on the bad boy team, so fuck him. Josie Jewell. I really liked him coming back. He's looked great in 2 games. Ben, you talked about him. But again, he's on bad boy, so I just can't go there with it. So my pick is going to be Michael Walker from Atlanta, because he's on a great contract, a young player. He had to be patient with them. And that's who's got him? I think One Man Wolfpack has got him, if I'm not mistaken. But I know I made some offers Hometown Heroes. I made some offers to get him over the past couple of years. He's been patient with them, and now he's getting rewarded. So, and Hometown's a good dude. So I will give him my MVP.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to name a couple on offense because that's really all I know, to be honest with you. So I'm going to say two wide receivers. I'm going to say Jalen Waddle. I was a little bit suspect of the whole Tua situation, Tyreek coming into there, and I think Jalen Waddle has, just been fucking absolutely explosive. Whether the big plays are sustainable, I think it's just the kid is just dynamite in a fucking bottle. So I think having him on your squad and the ability that he has shown not only in his first year where he led all rookies in history and the amount of receptions he's had is fucking awesome. And just the fact that he can in 1 minute go from 0 points to about 18 and has that ability. And he's also been pretty consistent other than one, I think, bad game where he didn't have it was 5, I think was the last game with Teddy coming in late there. So Jalen Waddle, dynamic player, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon when you have him and Tyreek, threatening defenses throughout the game. So, and then the other one I think we kind of mentioned earlier is Christian Kirk. Like it was a little bit suspect the contract he got in Jacksonville, but the utilization, the consistency. He's been pretty fucking dynamite. And I don't think I'd have to look at his contract, but it wasn't a horrendous contract for him. Let me see if I can pull him up quick. Anybody know off the top of the head where Christian Kirk was, like what his contract is in this league or what they'd like to guess?
Let's see, he probably got extended off of a first round tender, so he's probably like $45.
Go ahead, Georgia.
I think he's closer to 80.
Yep, $75 salary.
Because he was taking
shit, man. Like you're getting that kind of production. 17 first week, 25 second week, 19 and 10, right? Like I think again, Moose making. I think Moose made a deal for him as well. If I'm correct, I can't really.
Probably got him for free.
Yeah, like he was left to die kind of in Arizona, although he had some big games last year. Like nobody really thought he was a number one, and he's been a true number one for Jacksonville this year. So
I drafted Christian Kirk in contract and didn't extend him and dropped him.
Oh my God.
He was a huge contract. I took him it took him top 7.
I'd also
and he hadn't done anything yet.
In this kind of league, let's see, another one, $250 fucking contract, which is just crazy. But man, is Cooper Kupp fucking just a dynasty or a fucking fantasy king, man. Like, I have him in one league out of I think the 8 that I play in, and you're just like you're already setting the standard so high because he's going to get 8 to 10 receptions almost every game. What a fucking fun guy to watch play football. I don't know if it's sustainable for them to be good, though. Like, they're just, dumping to him at 8 yards, 12 yards, and it's just like they don't have any deep threats. So it's very interesting to see what will happen with the wide receivers in Los Angeles.
Shout out to Byron Murphy, cornerback for the Arizona Cardinals, who told Roman and I that he isn't afraid of any wide receiver in the NFL except Cooper Kupp.
Jesus Christ. The guy is just a stud.
He plays against him 2 times a year, so he gets a good sample size.
Yeah, just fun to watch, man. We'll see what happens with Van Jefferson coming back. I was down on him and moved him away in a couple of leagues, but what else do they have? I don't think they're going to sign Beckham. Allen Robinson has probably been.
Skornick looks okay, man. He gets open, he catches the ball. Fuck.
Yeah,
go white boy.
Robinson's, but he's a deep threat, I think, Van. So at least they'll be stretching the field with him a little bit, kind of in that Deshaun Jackson kind of role. There's probably some comfortability with him.
We can confirm Robinson isn't good anymore.
It's just baffling. They tried to get him like week 2, some touches, like some end zone touches, maybe to get him going, and it's just like something's off. They're throwing to Higbee freaking 12 times a game, and if you pay for that contract for Robinson, and Jesus, man, what a dump. What a bust that's been this year.
If he didn't have such a cap hit, I would say like I could see him getting cut and going to the Bucks and then just dominating with Brady because that's how all these wash shows end up doing it. But
it'll be interesting to see. We'll have this conversation again in 4 weeks and see who is making the cut for the fantasy MVP of the season. Who wants to go next with their specialty segment? I'm really excited for these two segments.
I'll go.
Yeah? All right,
Yeah.
Georgia. I like it.
May I?
He's very
Yes, you
prepared for
can.
this, folks. This is, I'm
I'm
picking my
actually
nose on
terribly
camera.
unprepared.
Hope it'll be mine. We're going to call this one the pump or dump segment, and we're going to have Georgia back at least once every year to do it. I'm just kidding, Georgia. We'll have you back, buddy. You're under control. The keys to Georgia is getting him on here at 9 in the morning, so we can see those beautiful blue eyes. He's a little hungover. Nothing a vape pen can't cure. A little cup of coffee though, and just nice to see you, Georgia. Nice to see you. I don't even think we've heard the word. See you next Tuesday or too many motherfuckers yet. So hopefully we'll hear that because I think you're disappointing your fan base a little bit.
That's a
Pump
very
or dump?
cunty thing to say.
Pump or dump, Georgia. This is your segment. We'll call it the Georgia Peach Pump or Dump.
Okay, so first of all, when I'm making fun of Bad Boys or Moose or whatever else or calling them fuckers, anybody who's an active owner in this league, I love to have and actually, respect you and all that. So let's just get that bullshit out of the way. So I'm doing.
I
a
think that
segment
is
here.
actual bullshit. I think those two owners you personally just strongly dislike, and that's the take that I've had for 2 years. So you're gonna have to convince me otherwise than that, like by reaching across the aisle and shaking a few hands and fucking playing.
The
nice with
disclaimer
them.
shot down.
Yeah, fuck that disclaimer. That is absolute bullshit. I'm not calling bullshit on it.
Now,
But,
Corey, I
go
can't
ahead.
fucking stand you.
Well, that's fine. That's evident. I was in
Okay, so-
Calabasas and you didn't even want to hang out with me.
You wouldn't come to. What do you really want to go here? You weren't
No,
in fucking
I don't.
Calabasas. You were in
All right,
Riverside.
pump or dump with Georgia Peach.
Okay. So talking about the trade, first of all, the trade inquiry etiquette. We have a trade bait section in our league where you can put all of your wants, needs, what you're willing to trade, looking for. And that is one of the most very underutilized pages of the site. Like less than half the league keeps it updated regularly. And if everybody would, it would make trading and shopping and negotiating a hell of a lot easier. If you have something you're really looking for or something you're really looking to move, it should at the very least be there and available to anybody who looks at it. So, then we have people who just kind of send out trades. I call them the cold open offers, which are private between people. And I think that should also be kind of off limits as far as talking shit about. If you put something on the trade bait page, I don't think it should be brought up or talk shit about. If you send somebody an offer, I don't think it's cool when people go on like, oh, Derrick Henry, you want too much for him. And then you throw the guy under the bus who's, you're negotiating with because it didn't go your way. Shut up and respect people's privacy. Now, when you go on the fucking chat and you start pitching your garbage, like it's the fucking penny saver, you are fully open to ridicule and to be shamed and to be called out for what you're doing, which Argo has called the pump and dump, and I am adopting that. So in the past couple of days, we've had a few names that have been thrown out there. And what I would like to do is to share the name, have you guys tell me what if you needed that player, what you would pay for him in terms of say draft capital, and then I will come back with whether I believe that would be a pump or a dump transaction. In other words, it would never happen because the owner is just pumping it up, or it would, and it's just the guy's just getting dumped on top of you. So the first guy I'd like to talk about is Caleb Huntley that the Moose has that he threw out, and Caleb Huntley in the first 4 weeks has had 0 snaps, 3 snaps, 0 snaps, and 12 snaps this past week where he rushed 10 times, 56 yards, and a touchdown. He was the 4th overall pick last year in our league, undrafted free agent, cheap contract, $4.80. And so if you needed this running back and had the draft capital, what would you guys pay for Caleb Huntley?
A 4th and a 5th round pick, nothing more.
Okay. Corey, are you there, or did you just go to
No.
take the dump?
Corey decided to take a shit during your segment.
He's going to go do his own pump and dump.
Yeah.
So I actually brought visual aids, and I'm going to call that a dump. Can you see
wait,
the-
you're okay. There it is. A little bit.
This is a dump.
Yep.
Okay. He would not take the fourth and the fifth, first of all, and you would be overpaying because this fucking guy is going to be back on the practice squad before anything is in. And I gave this guy
I'd have to
away.
be very desperate to send the fourth and fifth. Like if I'm
Yeah.
like not gonna field a running back, I need a flyer. The contract's good. Hey man, like I have those guys up and down my roster all the time, and I've made trades for them. You know, like I would argue that Za'Darius White is more valuable, and he's a practice squad guy on Miami. But nobody would pay me shit for him because he's got a FA next to him, and he doesn't have opportunity. So that's where Caleb Huntley gets a slighter uptick in value. That's why it goes from a fifth and sixth activation price to a fourth and fifth activation price. That's my logic there.
Well, I had him, and I will say because our fucking rosters are so small, I had to give him away when I had no intention of wanting to give him away. But I know you guys
Preaching
don't
to the
love hear
choir there,
that.
Georgia. Preaching to the choir.
So, do you guys we fix this on the next time we vote? This is fucking ridiculous. So another Moose guy he threw out there was I don't know, it's Chigozium or whatever, the tight end for the Titans, Okanakwo. Moose said the tight end of their future. He is a rookie, $6 contract, pick 3.32 overall. He's ranged between 10 to 16 snaps, caught one pass in week 1, didn't do anything for 2 weeks, and then had 3 catches and a touchdown this past week. So is this number one, I guess, how much of a would you pay for this asset? And we'll go from there.
What was he drafted?
3.32.
This year, right?
Yep. He's on the
Okay.
DTS.
Yeah. So I wouldn't pay more than the third that he paid for it because he's not completely incorrect in speculation, but he's clearly not worth the activation price because he would be activated. And he clearly doesn't have the snaps to make anything definitive, but tight end is very hard to fill. So if I could get the low end of maybe, no, I don't mind paying for somebody's tight end, maybe not now, but at the end of the year, if they've gone a year and they want to give him to me for equal or less draft capital they'll paid for, I usually like doing those kinds of deals because the whole point of tight end is you have to wait 2 to 3 years to even know if they're good, and that's goes for DNs who aren't like at the utmost high pedigree. So sometimes taking those risks, I think, is a fair way to get value where the other person might not want to be patient. So that's fair trade value. So that's why I'm going to say a third or fourth round pick feels fair at this given moment.
Corey, are you back with us?
Yeah, sorry about that. Not to go off tangent here, but little parenting thing. Son has now taken the driver's license test 4 times, and so we're trying to work out a system that's going to work for him. Poor kid, man. Like just the disappointment in his eyes every time he comes out of the testing, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, and he's like, and it's just,
the driving or the written. It's got to be.
Oh no, he could handle the actual driving thing because you're with a human, right? Like there's an actual human aspect. If like obviously you're gonna make mistakes. I think anybody that's taking that the driving test is not gonna be perfect. I'm still not perfect. I'm 44, 43 years old. The written one is so sterile in a bigger town, right? Like you go into a city, you go into a place, you take it on the computer. They don't tell you what you miss. They fucking X you out as soon as you're done, and it's just like, okay, you leave. And it's like, he nails all of the tests when we're practicing with him. Like, he knows all the answers, but like some people just don't, like they freeze up or whatever. And it's like, so we're trying to figure out a system that, you can call and request an in-person proctor that'll go over the test with you and read it out loud and then kind of, guide you on. And so that's what we're doing. It's just, to me, it's just so fucking disappointing that like they don't have a better system in place for that, or they don't at least allow you to see what you miss so you can study it. Like, because some of that shit's just foreign language, and the fact that he was born in Costa Rica and really doesn't understand it to a level of like, hasn't been in cars until he was like 11, basically, right? Like, you just don't understand the roads and how things work, and kids these days don't pay attention to that shit, right? Like, so
well, we have no stoplights in our area, Corey. I think you should also point that out.
I grew up without a stoplight. I was driving, when I was 14, just to go play golf, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, like because like nobody gave a fuck, right? Like these kids, like they'd rather be in Ubers for the most part than actually have their driver's lessons anyway. And then you put, I don't know. It's just a very fucked up process, in my opinion. And I feel bad for my kids. So I'm trying to figure out a solution.
Well, it sucks.
Pretty
It
bad.
sucks. It sucks to see that look of disappointment in somebody, the eyes of somebody that you love. And, you know, every time my pants go down, I see that look of disappointment in my wife's eyes, and it
Yeah.
just breaks my heart.
Yep. Yeah, it's very similar. I'm glad you brought your dick into my family's conversation there, Jordan.
Oh man, proper. That
Yeah.
was proper.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to close the loop on, it's just he's a good kid, man. Want to see him do well, and it's hard to. The other fact is nobody wants to go to the fucking DMV 4 times. Let's be serious. So there is a strong amount of disappointment every time that I fucking come out of there, and I'm like, again, I gotta figure out my schedule. I gotta go into the DMV. I gotta sit there. It's like that's the place that you don't want to go to
Plan
more than
2
once a
hours more
year.
than you should probably need.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked.
I give the DMV a dump.
Yeah,
Yes, I
Okay.
fucking agree with that.
big time dump.
What did
and
you
the
get? Hold
fucking
on.
hold on, one more thing. And the people that fucking work there, another big time dump, because they will do everything in the fucking power to tell you to go fuck yourself. Like, and it's just ridiculous. They do not want to see people. They do not want to help you. I'm like, listen, you can't make like I had his birth certificate the first time, and it's very little Spanish. It's in Costa Rica. It's pretty plain as day. I live in California where there's fucking Spanish speaking people anywhere. Nope, sorry, sir, this isn't gonna work. I'm like, I don't understand Spanish. I'm like, you don't have anybody that can fucking just quickly assess that this is, the language that says nacimiento, birth date, and what it means. Like, and they just tell you to go fuck yourself. Nobody wants to help anybody anymore. Nobody wants to do their job. Nobody wants to fucking, they'd rather push you through and make you come back again. And it's absolutely asinine. Asinine.
A tradition that lasts longer than the Masters have, Corey.
Oh God, I just can't stand customer service these days. It fucking drives me nuts. So my take on the whole tight end situation, I think I was kind of in the line of thought of Ben. Right, I would pay probably a perspective earlier third for that guy specifically. Like, there's not a lot of tight ends that produce much of anything in their first year unless you're wasting a first or early second on them. And so you have to be a little bit forward thinking to see if you're going to get value. Like, who do they have at tight end in Jacksonville right now? Evan Ingram. Is he still there? Right.
This is the
Dan
Titans.
Arnold.
Oh,
This
I'm
is the
sorry. The
Titans,
Titans.
bro.
Okay. My fault.
So they got Hooper.
They got
And
Hooper.
well, Gio Swaim gets 73% snaps, Hooper gets 45%, and the other dude gets like 8.
What is
or
the guy?
between 2 and 8.
Greg Dulcich, isn't he?
He's in Denver.
Yeah, he's in Denver, right? What is his production been this year? I don't even know how to spell
He's
his
in
name.
hurt, I think. I don't think he's been playing.
He's on the IR, Corey.
Okay,
Season.
I'm wrong. There's a guy I was thinking about, and I think it was Denver. That was a rookie that's like, catching a couple passes a game too. I wanted to see.
Guy in New York is.
Ben's guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah.
And what was our bet? Him versus who?
Dan Arnold. I'm losing that one.
Oh man, Dan Arnold just got a touchdown last week. That could be getting dicey.
Might save my make the bet last in a couple more weeks. Was that
I don't know.
Bergenson? Who is it?
Bellinger.
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 Let's
yeah.
let's look at Bellinger. That's a good just kind of pivot here. So he was taken 231, so a round earlier. Okay, but 8, and 5, but more consistency. So if you're going to pay an early, like again, you're looking at what can I get for that position next year if I'm going to pay an early third for him. I mean, is the production that he's made so far worth that? I don't know. I'd rather take my own shots on my own guys with that draft pick and instead of paying for it. But that's just me.
So my conclusion, since this is my segment, is number one, anybody on DTS, you know what the price tag is. Because if anybody wanted to pay the second, the third, they would have paid for it by now.
Right.
So I think that posting this on the chat, he's got to be assuming that he's not going to get a second for it because he already would have it if that was the case. But I'm going to give this Chig character a pump because I think that I actually like him. I think there's some opportunity there, and if you could get him for a third or four in that range, or that kind of value, that kind of player, then I would definitely do it.
Nice
I don't
job,
think-
Georgia. Nice
I don't
job.
think Moose would go along with it, but so be it. Now,
Who was the
I've got
first
that-
one? Did I miss? Who did I miss the first? Who was the first?
Who was the first one? I lost my notes.
Caleb Huntley.
Oh, Caleb Huntley.
Caleb Huntley.
Yeah, the running back from
That is a
Atlanta.
dump.
That's a dump. Yeah, we
Okay.
just had
All
that's a
right,
dump.
just getting my vote in there. Okay. Good.
Okay, so I got a couple more. I could do at least one more, or more if you guys are having a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
go
here.
ahead. Keep going. I
How-
like it.
I
how
like
about-
this, Georgia.
How about Zaire Franklin, brought up by our own host
Woo!
with the most, dropping it out there. Now, I actually was looking him up in the previous segment. $30 contract, 1 year, and 1 year only. He's played 100% of the snaps, and he's ranged from 10 to 17 points a game. So he's in that spot of high producing linebackers.
With Shaq Leonard out.
Well,
Also going
this,
to be
this
out.
is this is where we get to the pump or the dump. Jesus, what are you going to give up for this guy?
Apparently, you have to give up a first round pick, according to Corey's analysis.
No, I haven't. I got one offer, and it was it's something that I wasn't interested in. And it was from Jesus. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it. That what
Oh,
was
you
that
haven't gotten
offer?
other offers? I figured Georgia was going to say he gave you like 5 offers. So if I
No,
was the only
mean,
one and you're still
I'm
waiting,
actually
then that's fair
genuinely
enough.
curious to see what this is. Now, obviously, if I had him for what 3 years at $30, would it make a difference?
Yes.
Okay, so that would increase his value, correct? Or
Well, here's the
decrease it?
thing. I brought this up purposely because I'm not the IDP guru. Ben is. Ben seems to know, and I know that but I know enough that Leonard is going to be coming back. And what is that? Does Franklin go from 100% snaps to 50 or something, or do they move other guys around? Ben, what do you see happening here? And what would you pay? We gotta throw out
Brother,
a draft value here.
First of all, he did come back last week and he got concussed. So
Okay.
he's
I didn't
out.
know
He'll be
that.
out
Yeah,
he'll
he
be out a
came-
week.
Ben,
Yeah,
I'm
but he
asking
came
you.
back last week, and how many snaps did Zaire Franklin get with him back last week?
Ben, help me out here. He played 100% of snaps so
He
far.
got
Okay.
100% snaps.
So you already answered your question. Shaq Leonard was back for what? How long?
No, he
half,
didn't.
half the game last week and got concussed.
No,
but
he wasn't
Zaire
in half
Franklin was
the
still
game.
playing.
He
Right?
was not in half the game, bro.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Was he?
He was in for like 10 plays.
Okay. Well, there's 10 snaps that Zaire Franklin was playing alongside fucking Shaq Leonard.
And so was
we
Bobby
think all of a sudden
Okereke, so
that's
they
going to
went
stop
three-
in the second quarter?
Dude, when they went into dime and nickel sets in the past, I mean, look, we can go into full depth analysis, but you just assuming this is fucking
I'm
ludicrous.
not. All I'm saying is the guy has value. He scored 57 points.
That's
on
fine.
average over
What's the
13.
value then, Corey?
Ben, let's see. Ben,
I'm accepting
I'm
all
gonna
offers
ask-
that are draft picks.
I'm gonna ask Ben to tell me what you would pay for this player, and I will
I'll tell you
if
what
it's a
he'll
bump or a
pay.
dump. I'm not asking you. This is my.
I could
segment,
only give. I
goddammit.
couldn't get. He wants draft capital. I only could give him long-term assets. That's it.
Okay, but if
He offered me Marcus Bailey, who has gotten
Guys.
zero. Hold on. He offered me Marcus Bailey.
Corey,
What?
shut up with the fucking snaps. Long-term assets. Shut the fuck up with the snaps.
I'm
He's
not
the
very
direct
smart.
middle linebacker backup, which means the guy on the last year of a contract, currently a middle linebacker, he will replace. When I said I didn't want to do that trade, this is why. Marcus Bailey, more than likely, is going to be the middle linebacker next year. So fuck off with all that. He has no snaps this year because he directly backs off a middle linebacker. Are we going to say that about Asamoah because he's the direct backup to him? No. Shut up with that, okay?
This
Don't
is-
value people.
First of all,
if you
don't
want
you fucking
long-term
dare talk
assets,
to me like I'm your child.
Don't
okay?
you? I will if you're going to act like one.
I was going to
Fucking
give you a
sitting there,
compliment, you fucking beast.
nonsensical bullshit about I want future assets and I'm going to talk about fucking snaps now. Go ahead.
I was not going to belittle your trade. I was going to say here's what I thought when I got it was Zaire Franklin and Dane Jackson, who's on a 3-year contract for $1 and who's playing quarterback for the Bills. Okay, for Jalen Darden and Marcus Bailey. Ben believed he was giving up more than he needed to in order to get Zaire Franklin and Dane Jackson. I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not very smart on the defensive IDP, but I feel like Zaire Franklin could be franchise tag next year. Maybe I'm wrong. So I'm thinking I would do it for 50, 60 bucks next year if that's what it cost to franchise tag him, and he's produced. He's 26 years old. So I that's where my head's at. Now, I did look at snap counts for Marcus Bailey. He hasn't played on defense. He's played a little bit on special teams. I did see that he was second in line at inside linebacker as far as the depth chart's concerned. There's still no guarantees that he's going to play next year or the year after. There's no guarantee.
You're not gonna get guarantees for a fucking guy who's gonna get you
So my position
somebody's
is I do
8
not want
games of
Darden.
production.
I didn't want Darden. He doesn't. I don't think is someone that I want on my team because I'm pretty set at wide receiver. I would prefer to have a draft pick in the late second or early third round for Zaire Franklin by himself. Okay, that's
No
kind of
way.
what I'm. Okay, fair enough. I'd like to
No
take my
way.
stab at a inside linebacker that I
You think you're gonna
is
get a
have
second round pick for 1 year of Zaire Franklin?
Again, I'm happy to fucking see how the season plays out and franchise him tag if I think he's going to be somewhere, land
I
somewhere and
hope
play
you
next year.
franchise him.
Okay, so that's where I'm at with it. Probably won't get anything done. Maybe the year progresses and he's got this,
Jesus,
he's
what's
a
a good
top 15 inside
comparison?
linebacker. We'll see how
That's a
it
good
plays out.
comparison.
We'll see how it plays out. So enough on that one, Georgia.
I'm-
You're the deciding factor on Zaire Franklin as a pump or dump.
Well, I am just so happy with what I just saw, and I had no idea that you guys actually had a trade going back and forth. So
It's the only trade offer I received for
no,
any of my
I
guys.
only
so
send-
I guess I have
I'm-
shit
I'm
guys
the
on my
seller.
roster. Jalen
I am-
Smith too, right? What a fucking dumb fucking purchase that was for $19. But
I am
did you
very,
see him
very
last
happy
week?
right
Did
now.
you see him last
Do you
week?
want to talk about Jalen Smith right now?
Yeah, the fact that he played fucking every down last week and fucking tackled every
He did
bear.
not play every down.
Well, maybe exaggeration a little bit there, but he played a lot, man, for his second week on the team. He was signed
I'm
to the
taking a
practice.
fucking fifth on this one, bro. Taking a fifth on this one.
Okay, so
Corey,
Wow.
if you think you're going to get a second round pick for you, this is a
Hey,
serious-
who owns Schobert?
I
Who
gotta
owns
give you this
Schobert?
down.
He just got signed by fucking Vegas. He's gonna be the next coming of Christ.
did
Some-
Jalen
oh, that's
Smith
it.
not play last week? Well, I mean, I don't know. What am I missing? You tell me, fucking savant. What am I missing about Jalen Smith for $19 right now? If you're a competing team that needs an inside linebacker, I don't.
Okay.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm fucking stupid.
Well, but so the question though isn't whether or not you would like to have him. It's what is the cost and what is the value
Right.
of it.
You guys tell me.
Jesus, the value.
Well, this is
I
this
wouldn't,
is
gi-
what
I wouldn't give a
rounder?
6th-round pick for Jalen Smith.
Fuck him. Fuck him.
Yeah,
then. I'm
I
not
mean-
selling him. I'm not selling for a 6th-round pick. Good.
Well,
Let's
and-
see how
and
he
that
I'm
is-
just saying
how he
I
ends up.
wouldn't give him. I mean, maybe somebody will.
All right. I mean, 1 week after being signed to the practice squad, he has 8.25 points. I watched the entire game because I'm a Bears fan. 5 tackles, 1 assist. Pretty decent.
This is how
production
bad
for
your
19 bucks.
fucking eyes are, Corey. Okay, he played 50% of snaps, not 100. So clearly, I watched the whole fucking game, but didn't realize he wasn't on the field half the fucking time.
Well,
Okay,
Let's see where that snap
Okay.
count is next week. Let's see where it is.
dude. Okay, his
That's it.
PFF grade
Moving
was
on.
the bottom for all linebackers.
All right,
You
cool.
want- that's it.
by the way,
Probably a
if you
little
want
out of
my-
shape. Probably a little out of shape.
Well, I'll just
Dude,
I just
they cut fucking Blake Martinez for a shittier Blake Martinez. That's what's insane. And guess what they found out with that 50% snaps? He is shittier than Blake Martinez.
We'll
so
All right.
Fine.
Let's see
Totally
what his
fine with
production
that.
is next week against the Packers.
can't
So I
wait for you to
just-
get a 2nd-round pick for him.
Because
I
Zaire
just-
Franklin sucks. Go ahead, and Jalen Smith sucks. So good. Hopefully we don't
I never
move on
said
to
Zaire-
Buda Baker
no,
here.
Zaire
'Cause we're gonna
Franklin.
fucking have
I'm starting Zaire
blow the lid
Franklin
off
in
this
other
fucking
leagues.
podcast.
Hey, man. I
Can
like
I-
Zaire Franklin. I got him in other leagues. I just think a 1-year contract might be getting a little overvalued by you there, sir.
It's a
That's it.
super pot year. Anybody that wants to contend and win will fucking pay for it.
Yeah, but he's not guaranteed points for the rest of the year. That's the problem.
I'm pretty
I
much
mean,
sure
he
he's
is.
at 100% snap share so far, and he played
He
100% of the snaps that fucking, your boy Shakir.
If he overtakes all of the share of Bobby Okereke when Shaq
Yeah.
Leonard comes back, you will be right. But Bobby Okereke was a top 10, 15 linebacker by most consensus fucking, and yeah, man, these things can change.
all
They
right,
clearly
all right.
change all the time. So,
So
I
Moving
think
on,
the odds
moving
are
on. We got
Well,
about
excuse-
45
wait, no,
minutes.
Okay, I
We're
need give me
over
one more
budget
minute.
here.
One
Go
more
ahead.
minute on this because you guys are just going on. This is a question for Ben. So everyone not named Ben, don't answer the question. Ben,
You are not the fucking host of this show, Jillian.
who is more valuable, Dalvin Tomlinson or Zaire Franklin? Even though they play different positions.
it's got to be Franklin.
Okay, are they close?
Depends on your positional need, but Dalvin Thompson is like top 10 DT and isn't going to lose any ground. Like nobody's hurt there. right? And he's getting free, and I think he's going to be really a good DT asset. But I think Franklin, even, not to walk back on this, but if let's say in this league, Shaq Leonard comes back, he goes down to 45 to 50% snaps and can get you 4 to 5 points. Like, I think linebacker sometimes is more of a need at that. So I would say it's more need based, but on a neutral basis, I'd rather have. They're about the same price, right?
So proportionally, I just acquired Dalvin Tomlinson and I paid a fourth for him. So if Mr. Franklin is worth more, then you could say, well, is he worth a 4 or 5, or is he in fact worth a 3?
He's probably worth a 4 or 5. I mean, I offered Corey, like, what is it, my second and fourth round draft capital from 2 years ago with extensions, which means I've been kind of taking, like, I think that's fair. Corey can get a 4th and a 5th for him.
Okay.
Moving on.
Corey, would you take a 4th and 5th?
Not right now. Go ahead.
And I don't know. I thought that. So what is that? A pump or a dump? Then
I think that Corey's never going to have me back again. So I'm just going to plead. Let's just
let's just see what happens the rest of the season with Zaire Franklin, whether he continues to be a fucking stud LB play or not.
He's peak value right now, man. He's peak value.
That could be the case. I don't have anything to lose.
Do you guys want one more from me?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I have 2 to choose from.
You want both? Let's just do it quick.
Okay. All right. So let's go with Derrick Henry. Because that was brought out, and I do not like that people were throwing Wolfpack under the bus and saying, "Oh, you want too much," when he's not advertising it on the thing, but he got called out for it anyways. One of the people said, "No one wants Henry because your price is crazy," was the quote. But
did
anyway,
they say what the price was? Do we know what the price was? Or
we don't know. That's what we're going to talk about. What should the price be? 243 on the contract now. He's got 3 years left. We all know it's Derrick Henry. We all know. So if you were going to acquire Derrick Henry, what's your and you had access to all the picks it would take, how much would you do at that contract?
A first,
late first, and maybe an early second.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that sounds right. First and a second. I don't think 2 firsts at this point, but I don't know. If you paid 2 firsts for it, like, for example, if Moose had 2 firsts in his current position and he wanted to give those away for Derrick Henry and he could make the cap work to where he's just propelling his roster to face fuckery. So I don't know. If you're really like all in to get it this year, and I don't mean all in like you might be all in. Like, if you're one of the top, Georgia Warhorse has some 2 firsts and wants to give it to him, I think that's fine. But I think if you got a first and a second, that would be a fair value considering the burden of the contract. You have to really believe in Henry, or you have to be ready to cut him next year.
Yeah.
But if you're going to say that the value, like, the problem is like giving him away because of the contract is nonsensical for him, because it's not like Derrick Henry, according to like a lot of our price points, unless you're lucky enough to pay 210 and actually hit on Jamal Williams, that price tag, even as it increases for Derrick Henry, isn't bad. It's just hard with him getting older and at some point it could be totally dead if he's done or whatever. I think that's my answer.
I'd sum it up. I would say, listen, if you're gonna pay the 2 first, then you absolutely have to want that contract for next year, whether or not you win this year or not, right? Like, I think that, like, are you okay with that contract moving forward if you do not, make some money back on your actual investment into the BC League this year by trying to go all in and pay for them? Like, as I don't
think
want
if they're
that
late
contract.
first, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, then you're fine doing it, and if not, then you say a first and a second, because I don't want that contract in year 3. I can tell you that right now. So yeah.
Well, I will say that I'm going to give it with the first and the second, a pump, but if it's 2 firsts, then I'd have to call it a dump. I don't think you could pay that much for a guy at that. He's getting old. That's going to be a big contract. We're already talking about the option, maybe needing to cut him next year. So I'm not going to give
But I don't think
if-
it's worth selling for less. That's kind of where it
Yeah.
stands, right?
which is why he's probably going to just have to live with them. Like me and Jeff Wilson.
All right. So let me ask this, because it's not, I want to kind of dig into this a little bit more just because it's some interesting stuff here. Let me look at, so what has Derrick Henry been, what has Henry put up as points so far this year?
God, I was just looking a second ago. I think he's
78.
in the 20s.
Yeah, but Booby Sanders and fucking Jamal Williams are ahead. Okay, so I would think there's regression by both those guys. So he's top 5 in a very, very disappointing top end of the running back class. I mean, would you rather have Derrick Henry or JT at this point?
Okay. So let me ask you this. So if Derrick Henry's put up 78 points on his contract, at his stage in his career, and Khalil Herbert's put up 72 points this year at his contract and his stage of the career, who would you pay more for?
Ooh.
Okay, well, there's sample size of longevity. So like Derrick Henry's been the king for years. I just don't think they're comparable. But I do think if you want to say, if the question is, would you trade current contract on both straight up? I wouldn't say it was outrageous. But
Contract on both? Yeah. So 2 firsts for Herbert. Would you pay that?
yeah, but you got to take the big contract on Henry, and he gets the small contract of Herbert. But
No. I'm saying whose value is more, not would you trade Henry for Herbert?
I think they're similar. That's what I just said.
Okay,
I think if you got 2 late first for Herbert, I would think you did really well with that. And then if you got but I don't know if you would do that. But I know you wouldn't do a first and a second. Does that make sense?
Okay, so let me take this a step further, and then we'll get out of this time. I actually think this is really good. So I have a legit offer for Herbert right now. Here's the offer, live on the air. Herbert for Kenneth Gainwell and Zamir White, both top 15 draft picks, I think, over the last 2 years. That's an actual offer. Do you give up Khalil Herbert for Zamir White and Kenneth Gainwell? Contracts are about $60 versus $65 versus $15.
It wouldn't be outrageous.
For which side? I mean, like, so Zamir White's back up to a 5th-year back. Herbert's technically a backup to a 5th-year back.
So was Herbert until the fucking.
No, I'm just saying. And then you have a Kenneth Gainwell. It's hard for me not to accept that deal. The only reason I'm not accepting that deal right now is because I think Herbert is actually going to be the guy in Chicago next year.
That's your 2 late first scenario that I just talked to you about that I didn't think you would take, but I think it would be fair.
It's actually more like, because Gainwell was a top 10 pick, I believe, and I think Zamir White was a top 15.
No,
pick.
they're mid. They're both mid. All
right, I gotta look.
I think.
Well, I'll tell you my take on I already said a first and a second for me would be Henry. I would do 2 firsts for Herbert in a heartbeat. If I had 2 firsts and Herbert was on your DTS, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't even look that closely at what the picks were. I'd be
That's a good point.
I would take 2 firsts for Herbert, probably maybe a little throw in something spicy on it for sure.
If I had it,
a little bit more. I would rather have those 2 firsts than the 2 players, to be honest with you.
Also the thing, Corey, just to make a quick note, also, I think we talked about speculation of the unknown and how much higher that is. You have much more value if you got 2 firsts in the future than if you got Zamir White and Gainwell. That's just the way this league works, right? So like even trading those potential future picks have more value than trading the 2 guys you just talked about for Herbert.
Right.
So I would still, in that aspect, if somebody is going to offer you 2 mid first for next year, I'd rather have that than the Zamir White and Gainwell.
And that's kind of where that's where my
and that's just because of the irrational thinking that this league puts on the unknown of future picks.
Well, you like not to this have league. Control
humans
of,
in general. Humans in general, not just this league.
Yeah. I'm still Kenneth Gainwell was picked 116 last year.
In the
And I
NFL.
believe
Yeah.
that's about where Zamir White was. Zamir White might be in the 20s, which I think was a mistake. But I think Mandy got good value on him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'd probably stick with. I probably.
Zamir
want
White was
Herbert.
121. So I mean, it's two mid first basically. But with Zamir White has upside. You would have to assume he's playing.
It's
behind-
fair and in preference, man. I'll just say it again. It's fair and in preference.
Yeah.
Well,
the problem is
I
you have
guess-
to make the decision now. And the other issue that we've talked about
Yes.
is that Argo brought up is there's not a lot of movement on trade picks this year because people aren't investing into the next year because it's a super pot year and they don't know if they're staying or going. And so paying for your picks is kind of decreasing the value of action basically.
And let's be clear, if either or Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders got hurt, you would probably be looking at straight up for one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like they're both in backup roles that will immediately get Herbert style workloads.
That's a
Maybe
good
not
point.
to the extent, but pretty close if that injury happens. And they're definitely looks like they're going to move on from Booby this year, and it looks like they're going to move on from Jacobs. So if you want to even look at next year, like again, I just think it's a
Jacobs
I think
has
it's a
been
really
real good though in a contract.
it's a really
year.
interesting trade because I think it's a preference trade that's pretty fair across the board.
It's been one of the better trades I've ever received, and I think Mandy did his. I mean, it's a fair fucking offer, and so I have a decision to make. We'll see what happens. All right, Georgia, it's been a great segment because it's sparking conversations, and that's what we love here at the.
Hey, do
Dynasty.
you want to do one more? Want to do one more quick one?
Last one, and then we got to keep it snappy.
This is okay. So I'm glad that you're in a better mood, and I'm going to just try to fire you up one more time and do Buda Baker,
Oh,
the $90 safety, 1 year left, averaging about 10 points a game. Last season, EFT, so is not renewable. Ben, what are you paying for this player?
Oh man.
well,
What
safety.
is his draft capital?
Yeah, I mean,
Fourth round pick.
Okay. Probably get a
Maybe.
safety there, a young safety. I screwed up on this one. I had an option to pick a couple of younger safeties up. I think earlier in the season, one of them was being moved to cornerback, I believe, if I remember right. It was like Ashton Davis and one of the Elliots or something like that. And I rejected it. I was being stubborn. I wanted to see what kind of value I could get. I'm honestly looking for kind of a third round draft pick for Buda Baker, where I think I can get another young safety, and or a young kind of player that's kind of ascending at the safety position, and I feel like is a long term asset. So
He's
I'm not
on a
over asking
transition
for
tag
Buda
too,
Baker.
right?
What's that?
He's on
the
EFT.
transition
So
Yeah.
he's last year, but he's
last year.
You either pay for it.
I'm sorry, a $90, 10 point a game safety.
10
for-
point a game safety, really? Okay.
$90.
We'll see. We'll see if that goes up or down
It's-
over the course of the season, Georgia.
I'm just
We're
gonna
stuck-
This
say,
is
man,
a
like,
dump,
you
dump,
have to
dump,
have-
dump.
You have to have that empty cap. You got to have like 120 in cap for that to be a real and need safety for that to even be considered.
Yeah, I mean
as
it's
a
still
fourth
early,
round.
right? I mean, we'll see who
man.
wants to take it on and
People
who
are
doesn't.
gonna start getting cap with these IRs.
And I'm fine with letting them go into the pool. I mean, it doesn't fucking matter to me one bit.
That's
I love
silly. You
winning
should
this
get a
year.
fourth for him if you can.
Yeah.
Fifth.
Okay. Nice segment,
rounder.
Georgia. Well done, buddy.
Okay, thank
Well
you.
done. Way to bring the energy on that. Ben's drinking a smoothie. And fucking good to see that, buddy. Good
What
to see
instead
that,
of like a
buddy.
liquor drink?
I mean, just good to see you putting health
We're
first
not at
in
noon
your
yet,
life.
Corey.
Yeah. All right. Going on, this has become quickly the most paid for and anticipated segment in Dynasty Brothers history. It's the keep it fucking snap on snappy segment, where Ben straps it on and fucking and snaps it in place and delivers the motherfucking face fucking. So here we go. Keep it snappy, Ben.
Is that the reference to when you wanted to bring up Jalen Smith's snap count? Never mind.
Boy,
Okay.
do it on the fly, brother. That's why you're a pro.
Yeah. Do I only get 10 minutes for this? I feel like. Do we have a hard cutoff in 10?
I have to get going throughout my day, but if you guys,
So do I. I
you got
just
about
like.
15 minutes total.
All right. I'll see what I could do. Just try not. to
I'll shut
interrupt
up.
you
That's for
too
sure.
much.
Because I don't know anything about this shit. Go ahead.
Okay, so we can't have this this often unless we're gonna go back and talk about how wrong I was about these takes, because we need to assess whether or not people should be behind a paywall or not. And if you listen to me about Kansas City linebacker Darius Harris, then you probably shouldn't ever pay for any advice I ever give anyone, because he not only did not get the 3-down roll for Kansas City some reason, they gave it to the rookie Brian Cook, which was the safety. So they went 3 safety sets, told him to get some pine. He didn't score fucking shit. So I fucking let you all down. I apologize for that. I let myself down by starting him and getting a 0 in a 32-team league. It hurt a lot, and it hurt my feelings, and I hate giving you bad advice. But that wasn't the only one. You happen to listen to me about the obvious insertion, Corey, I know you love that word, of Juju Hughes for Detroit at safety, who's supposed to just get that 100% snaps and just glide to that strong safety dominance over in Detroit. Well, guess what? He got 0 snaps too. And they put in another rookie, Kirby Joseph, who got 100% snaps and gave up 3 touchdowns. I can't give you advice on this at all. It looks like they'd rather use the rookie and suck and lose games than the guy who was actually good in both cases. So I would ignore them both unless it becomes something frequent. But I'm here to say on record, I was wrong about Juju Hughes and Darius Harris. And if you started them any league because I said so, I apologize.
Kirby Joseph played 100% of the snaps.
Yep.
Fuck, I just traded him to Wayne.
Oh, well, that's too bad for you, because it looks like he is the new starting strong safety. Although he could
Wayne.
clearly, man, he can go just like our boy over in Indy, and just, suck or maybe insult a coach's mom. I don't know what happened there, but he could just lose the job, especially because it's weird because Juju Hughes graded really well in PFF and he made plays. So usually that's a weird thing, but it's taken me back a little bit in this segment to not make these snap judgments, to tell people to just go play somebody and to tell them to monitor it instead. Because
I got Chris Rump for him. Good trade or bad trade?
Well, now it's a bad trade, although Chris Rump, who's not actually in my segment, but I did see he did have an uptick in snaps. He didn't get to 100%, but I think it was 65, and he's rushing the pass. He's got that Joey Bosa role, so I think he'll be fine.
Didn't you have Rumpf in our segment last week as a positive?
I did,
snap count?
as a
Okay.
pickup. Yeah, because he had.
And guess what?
well,
I made the deal right after that. Thanks,
oh, good
asshole.
job. Good job on you, buddy. No, it's a good trade. I wouldn't say it's bad, because I just to my point, I don't know if Kirby Joseph is going to get. He sucked.
Mhm.
Did you see how many
That's
points
good.
got scored in that game?
I
see how many
it was
points?
all on him. Yeah, they got a terrible.
I mean, he
defense.
gave up a lot.
Okay.
He was bad, and
All
he
right,
got a lot of tackles, but he's just like, I'm not going to rant about it, because
So he's
he's
a perfect Wayne.
but he's a
player.
rookie. He's a rookie. He may get better, and they just want to throw him into the fire. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
So, well, and then I'm going to just give kudos to me that the only 2 things that I did tell you that if you weren't starting, you were fucking up, was Josie Jewell and Frankie Louvu, and they both face fucked last week. So if you didn't take my advice after I said the only guys on this list that you must start from here on out are those 2 guys, well, then you should pay double for this segment. What do you think of that, Georgia?
Well, I didn't. I really. First of all, your last pod was excellent, and those picks. And didn't watch a ton of the games, but I did see Luvu. I believe get a sack or I don't know. He made some massive pick 6. Yeah, so
he should add 2. He
when-
actually dropped one.
what I remember from him in the past couple of years is he seemed just to be floating around as a backup, and so for you to pick that, and then right on cue he goes out and he puts up those points was pretty fucking impressive. So
all right, so we got 2
very good
goods
call.
and 2 bads.
Yeah, good call.
Par for the course. Okay, so now onto the new Snappy segment. This is the Snappy Happies. Okay, these are the ones that we want to keep an eye on. These are the ones that are progressing well. All right. Now I'll start with this one, which isn't the only reason it's a surprise is because the guy had like a heart palpitation and had to get shocked into shape. And somehow JJ Watt played 80 fucking percent of snaps on Sunday, 3 days after he had his heart shot. Now we want to talk about negligence as far as what we're allowing medical wise. I don't know if that needs to be looking into, but JJ Watt is, had he died on the field, we would sing a different tune, but 80% snaps after you had your heart fucking shocked and he's just brushing it off like it wasn't that big a deal. It's like, okay, whatever. Uh, I thought that was pretty amazing. And so now on to surprises. Isaiah Simmons is back in the mix, up at 83% snaps. This must be the most frustrating fucking guy to own. I don't own him anywhere, but he had 83% snaps week 1, dropped to 20 and then 30% snaps. Now he's back up to 83. I don't know what to make of this here, but you got to pay attention to it because he actually did well with those snaps and he's good. But like Arizona's fucking weird. I don't know what to say. So we'll move on from that. Frank Clark on the Kansas City Chiefs perked up my eye because he got an increase of about 25% snaps up to 88. That had been cut pretty evenly between Dunlap and Karlaftis. And I don't know what was going on because neither of them got dinged up, if there's some weird game strip or he was just playing well. But that's something to pay attention to for Frank Clark, who I think a lot of people might be considering starting or not starting. I think you should probably start him as long as he's playing that many snaps. And then, this is a legitimate guy, Corey, on your free agent. I got lucky and I should celebrate. I don't know who has him, but whoever has Jason Paul-Pierre should probably be fist pumping in the air, man. That guy, not only did he go on to Baltimore on the practice squad and jump in, but he played 86% snaps at an outside linebacking position that actually wasn't even giving more than 75. So they put him in and let him go. And so if you have a JPP now, you are going to want to start him, I would say, until you see something different. They really like him in the replacement of that injury. So feel free to fire that one up. We also had an injury in Anthony Walker last week for Cleveland, and his replacement ended up being Jacob Phillips, who got 100% of snaps, was crazy productive, kind of like Walker was. So I don't see any competition or any like surprises like the Juju Smith or anything like that. I would say confidently put him as a top 2, like, I don't know, a linebacker 2, if you want to call it. Jordan Lewis got hurt last week, and this probably doesn't help anyone except for maybe some deep benches, but Jerome Bland got 80% of snaps and looked very good. And I think Lewis is going to be out for a while, so if you got him, lucky you. If you don't have him, he might be a good streamer because that Jordan Lewis spot gets a lot of tackles and a lot of points, as we've seen. I talked about Kirby Joseph going to 100% snaps out of nowhere. Definitely something to monitor. And then Rodney Thomas, the safety for Indy, he solidified that he's the 100% snap guy. So 2 weeks in a row, he got the 100% snaps. So if you're sitting with Rodney Thomas, he is a plug and play, definitely worth more than Budda Baker. So I would maybe go shop him around.
Ooh, Rodney Thomas, who is that guy? The switchblade guy from fucking where did he come out of? Yale, I think. Is that? Oh, who has that
Maybe.
guy?
He's playing 100% snaps. Go shop him up, dog.
I wonder who has
Very
him.
random one at the end. We have Jacksonville's Roy Robertson Harris, who was kind of hyped preseason to kind of maybe have a sneaky season. He's only been playing around 43% snaps, and he jumped up to 80 plus. So I would monitor that, because if you start plays 75, 80% snaps, then production is going to be abound in that D line. They just get at the quarterback. So very interesting there. He might end up being a must start pretty soon. And then we lost Julian Love, who was like a beast because they were playing him at safety in the box, and a lot of like very, very good safety like role. And it looks like Dane Belton, who I hadn't really heard of before looking into this, got 74%. So he's a monitor as well, because the position Julian Love plays gets a lot of points. So if he ends up getting to 100% this week, I would go for him. After that, we had the Williams injury on the Jets last week, and there was some speculation Quan Alexander was going to get all those snaps, and he did. He went to 92% snaps, so he is a 3-down linebacker, middle linebacker for that Jets defense, and I think he's going to get pretty close to a must start if he repeats that this week. But Quan Alexander came out of kind of nowhere, and he's looking like he's going to be a productive linebacker. So those are all the happy snappies. Those are the guys I think you should pay attention to, and all that good stuff. And then the snappy sad, which is the guys who you need to get off of or be very worried about. You mentioned Darius
Let's not
Harris.
use the word "get off of" ever again in the keep it snap on segment. Like,
insert. Get off.
Yeah, let's. I don't know if we're doing that
Okay.
on purpose or not, but it's actually giving
No,
Georgia
definitely not.
direction that you guys can use.
Don't play him. How's that, Corey?
That's better. Thanks.
Okay. Darius Harris for the reasons mentioned before. And then, Justin Houston had taken over that role in Baltimore. This goes to the JPP, so he played 100%, which looked like he was going to get that job, but then JPP came and just took them all, and he got 0 snaps. So if you were thinking Justin Houston was going to have value, he is shit now. And Jeremy Chin is out for a while, so that's a bummer to all those people. And there's no clear replacement. This is a lot of mixed bag there, so that's something to monitor. But it doesn't look like for such a productive role that we have any idea who's going to get any of that. So something to monitor, not something we're going to benefit from. And then Randy Gregory's the same thing. He's out. And there's going to be kind of like a split between Nick Bonito and Browning, but it's just not worth looking at until we see something that sparks the eye. I just don't know who's going to be good or getting snaps there. And then Adrian Amos got concussed. I don't know how long these last, but this guy Rudy Ford went in, and it sounds like they might do different packages. So I'd stay away from that too. Very, very muddy situation. And then one interesting one to look at is Terrell Edmonds for the Pittsburgh. He got hurt really early, and they did not put in another safety. They ran with like 5 cornerbacks. So if you're hurting I don't know what's on the waiver wire, but look at that, because I think it might end up having, if he's out for an extended period of time, you might be able to get like some safety-like snaps from one of these cornerbacks, which would be awesome, right? You want to get if you can get real high tackle, high productive numbers out of a cornerback with that CB position, that's good. And then Zach Cunningham also went out for Tennessee. Same thing, we just can't see with what they're doing. He missed the whole game, and we can't tell who's really. It's like sprinkled in snaps, so it doesn't look like anyone's going to get that role, which looked really good. So that's the segment for keeping it snappy. I hope you enjoyed it.
Dude, awesome job. Really appreciate it. I think this was a fun podcast, boys. Thanks, Georgia, for joining us.
Georgia, are you checking waiver wires for the guys I just mentioned?
Yeah, he's already putting.
No comment.
already preparing for next week, Georgia. Well, both of you guys have a clear shot at the playoffs this year. I'm happy to see both of you guys competing. It's going to be interesting to see.
We play each other this week, don't we, Georgia?
Oh, geez, do we? I don't know. I know it's upcoming. Is it? Oh shit, it is this week.
Yeah, we're playing each other in BC.
91% probability I'm going to win. Looks like so.
It seems right.
I think Georgia will take this week, but we'll see.
By the way,
a couple wild cards I'm going to throw in there, Georgia.
Hey, there's since we've been on the podcast and to add to the pump and dump, looking to move Rashad Penny, Argo, Anthony Ferkser available with Pitts likely to miss a game. I mean, number one, use the trade bait section, but come on, nobody's going to fucking go after Anthony Ferkser for one game, Argo. Like, that's just a pure fucking dump. We don't even need any analyzation.
Especially when
whatsoever.
he's been playing 80 to 85% snaps the entire time.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Take it easy.
Brutal.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a segment that we need to bring you back here again for. I like it. Maybe let another couple
Up
weeks
and down.
Enjoy it. Thanks for making it work, Georgia.
Thank you, guys.
It's good for people to see the real G-Dub, not the behind the shades guy that's on the chat sometimes. Real great positive influence in the league. So nice to have you, buddy. And good to see you. Sorry I missed you when I was in LA area last time.
We'll do it next time.
Yep. for
Hey,
sure.
Corey, can I throw in some ball talk real quick?
What talk?
Some ball.
Oh, you're nut talk? You want a
We
nut
got
update?
Georgia on here.
Yeah.
First
Oh,
of all,
okay.
Bauer was very disappointed. Old Mighty Orphans. He was disappointed that we didn't invite him on for that conversation because he also went through he had actually pretty dicey experience with his vasectomy.
It seems to be a hot subject to talk about in the league, and if anybody needs advice or more input on that, please feel free to reach out through DMs, and we can have a special nut buster section. Actually,
So
for me,
hold on, I got to tell you my
these
story.
are the things that I would like to talk about more. So if you have any culture topics or just men's health topics, feel free to send some suggestions. We'll nail it on the next podcast.
The finger up the butt might be the next one, huh?
Oh my God, I could do hours on that one. Sometimes I just sit with the finger up my butt on my own without the.
All right, we've already gone too far. So I was feeling great. Recovery was awesome. No problem. Not a lot of pain. I was in watching the games, running the screens at Sharkies. No big deal. I noticed when I screamed at the top of my lungs, I could feel it a little bit, but not a big deal. I get home, go sit in my reclining chair, watch the night game. No big deal. My 4-year-old son climbs up off the back and does the WWF knee drop onto my fucking balls. And I shit you not, I screamed out a scream Anel had never heard before. It was devastating. And I was in my fucking bed in the fetal position for 2 days.
Oh wow, yeah,
Brutal.
that's not good.
So don't always think you're in the clear. Make sure the boys are really good. I'm telling you right now, he would have put me out of commission had I had no surgery. That's how direct it was.
Wow.
It's just
Yeah.
like he knew. I told you, man. He knew it. He's like, oh, yeah, you got this vasectomy because of me, huh? How about this, motherfucker?
He
Boom!
understands the word nuts, and he heard you talking about him on the last pod. What a devil child.
He knows what's
We
happening.
love you, Benji. Good job.
I was in the fetal position for 2 days after Corey beat me, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was a similarly painful experience.
I'm going to be 2-2 after this week, so maybe I'm not dumping everybody quite yet. We'll see. All right,
by the way,
boys.
hey, by the way, one more last thing. Anyone who does not watch this podcast is a cunt.
Yep, I think we'll.
I
leave it at
agree.
that. And we only have 7 people that watch it, so that means 25 owners are pretty fucking ridiculous. But hey, we keep doing what we do. We love doing it. Georgia, you earned yourself a invite back. Like they always say, it's not about getting invited the first time. It's whether or not you get invited back that matters. So good job by
Nice.
you.
Thank you very much.
Peace out, boys.